Warm August morning in 2018, a pregnant mother and her two little girls vanished without a sound. Their home was quiet, their beds were empty, and their father, Cris Watts, gave interviews begging for their safe return. But behind his trembling voice and shifting eyes, something monstrous was growing. This is the story of a family torn apart by lies, obsession, and an affair that turned a father into a killer. This is the case that shocked America, the Cris Watts family murders. Part 1. A family that seemed perfect. Frederick, Colorado. A quiet, manicured suburb where families ride bikes in the evenings and neighbors wave across driveways. It was here that Cris and Shanann Watts were raising their daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste. On social media, they looked picture perfect. Shanann shared videos of family dances, birthday parties, heartwarming moments of her daughters giggling in Cris's arms. She adored her family. She believed her marriage was strong. She thought her husband was her teammate, her partner, her forever. She didn't know that everything had already begun to fall apart. Part 2. Shanann's disappearance. Sunday, August 12, 2018. Shanann returned home from a business trip at 1:48 a.m. The house was dark. Cris was waiting. What happened inside those walls in the hours that followed would turn a loving home into the site of unthinkable horror. By morning, Shanann's friend, Nicole Atkinson, grew concerned. Shanann wasn't answering calls or messages. She missed a doctor's appointment. Her car was still in the garage. Something was wrong. Nicole called the police, and Cris acted surprised. Bodycam footage shows him calm, too calm, as officers entered the home. No signs of struggle, no forced entry. Shanann's purse and phone were still there. The house felt frozen in time, and the father's face looked strangely untouched by panic. Part 3. The interviews that broke the internet. That afternoon, Cris Watts stood on his porch, cameras rolling. He begged for his family to come home, but something was off. His eyes didn't match his words. His body language was tight, rehearsed. He smiled at odd moments. He folded his arms like someone defending themselves from the truth. Millions of people watching the interviews online felt the same thing. Cris was hiding something. Part 4. The affair. Behind closed doors, detectives were already uncovering secrets. Cris was having an affair with a woman named Nicole Kessinger, a coworker who believed his marriage was ending. But Cris wasn't planning a separation. He was planning a new life, a life without Shanann, without Bella, without Celeste, a life where he was free from responsibility, free from fatherhood, free from everything that made him feel small, buried, and trapped. This wasn't just an affair. It was a fantasy, a world he wanted badly enough to destroy his own family. Part 5. The failed lie detector test. On August 15th, Cris agreed to take a polygraph. The examiner told him something unforgettable. "Cris, we're at a point where you're not going to pass this test." She was right. He failed within minutes. Everything began to crumble. Detectives pressed harder, peeling away his stories, his lies, his carefully constructed facade. And then Cris broke, but not fully. He told them Shanann killed the girls, and he killed her in retaliation. It was a lie within a lie, a desperate attempt to save the image he had built. But detectives had heard enough. It was time to bring in Cris's father. Part 6. The confession. In a small room, Cris sat across from his father, Ronnie. He shook. He whispered. And then, finally, he said the words no father should ever hear. "I did it. He killed Shanann. He killed Bella. He killed Celeste. Not in anger, not in the heat of a moment, but because he wanted them gone. He wanted a new life, a new identity, a new start, and he was willing to sacrifice everything, everyone to get it." Part 7. The horror no one imagined. What happened that night is almost too painful to recount. As Shanann returned home, Cris attacked her. He ended the life of the woman who loved him without hesitation. But the horror didn't end there. With their mother gone, Bella and Celeste were still alive. terrified, confused, calling out for the one person who should have protected them. Cris didn't stop. He drove them, while they were still breathing, to an oil field belonging to his company. There, the unimaginable happened. Shanann was buried in a shallow grave. The girls were placed in oil tanks, a father destroying the lives he helped create. Part 8. The investigation and the truth. When investigators found the bodies, the truth shattered every remaining illusion Cris had tried to build. Evidence contradicted every lie he told. Autopsies revealed the children had been alive far longer than he claimed. His phone records exposed the affair. His demeanor exposed his guilt. He wasn't a man who snapped. He was a man who planned. Part 9. The sentence. In November 2018, Cris Watts pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. He received 5 life sentences, no possibility of parole, additional years for unlawful termination of a pregnancy. The courtroom was silent as the judge called the murders the most inhumane and vicious crimes I have ever seen. Part 10. The why? Even today, people ask, why? How could he do this? Some blame the affair. Some blame his desire to erase his responsibilities. Some blame narcissism, quiet resentment, or his need for control. But in the end, the truth is terrifying. Cris Watts did it because he wanted to, because he believed life without his family would be easier, because he valued his fantasy more than the living, breathing people who loved him unconditionally. Part 11. The aftermath. Today, the Watts home stands as a haunting reminder. Lights off, windows dark, a symbol of innocence destroyed from within. Videos of Bella singing, Celeste laughing, Shanann smiling. They left behind a digital memory that outlives the person who took them. Their family continues to fight for their memory, refusing to let the world forget who they were. A mother full of life, 2 little girls who were the center of that life, and a baby, Nico, who never had a chance. Ending. The final word. If there is anything the Watts case teaches us, it's that evil can hide behind a charming smile, can wear a wedding ring, can tuck children into bed. It can look like a loving father until the day it doesn't. Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico Watts did not deserve their fate. And as long as their story is told, their light continues to live on.